Hey everybody, Jackson Fuller here with Owen Hassell again. You know what time it is if we're recording one of these videos. It's a Friday night of football. Wait, it's only Monday.
No.
It's Monday.
No.
We've got a Tuesday of football, Tuesday night lights here in southeastern North Carolina. And for a lot of schools, they won't be having Friday night lights either this week. They'll be having Saturday night lights. But we'll get to that, I guess, a little later on in this week. For now, we've got 5 games that we're going to talk about. We're going to try not to take too long. Unfortunately, this week we're only covering 2 games because our UNCW beat reporter has UNCW things to do on Tuesday, including a men's soccer game against NC State. That's a big one. So just 2 games that we're covering this week, but one of them is a big one. Topsail at Hoggard. 6-0 Topsail at 4-1 Hoggard. The Vikings, the defending champions. Owen, I don't know. Have you seen Topsail yet this year?
I haven't seen Topsail this year. So
but you
please,
saw
Please
Hogwarts.
refresh me because I watched the video from Friday.
Yeah, if you guys missed it, the Pirates won on a last-second game-winning field goal from Jose Orellano. 40-yarder, barely squeaked through. But it went through, and Topsail is undefeated. Owen, you were with Hoggard on Friday. They rolled over Ashley. A lot of people, I think we all expected that. Was there anything in particular that either impressed you or maybe is a concern for the Vikings moving forward?
Well, it was business as usual Friday for Hoggard against Ashley. Not much to really talk about in a sense. I mean, Garrett Manning got the thing rolling with a block on a punt. Hoggard had short fields, 2 or 3 of their possessions to start the game, so easy touchdowns there, and then the route was on. Running clock by the start of the 4th quarter, and probably could have been earlier if Hoggard had taking advantage of a couple other possessions. However, not much you could say from that game to go, okay, this is where Hoggard is. Everything was pretty much as expected. Ashley got its touchdown from Mekhi Stanley late with a lot of backups in the game. Yep. So I don't. Again, I haven't seen Topsail, and you have, and you've seen both of these teams, so you probably have a better perspective.
I think looking at the 2 teams, one of the things that really sticks out to me is there's not much size difference, in terms of big, powerful guys. I mean, you look at the Topsail offensive and defensive line, they might have the biggest offensive line in the conference this year. And they've got a huge Hayden Walsh, who plays a tight end fullback on offense. He plays middle linebacker for them on defense. I mean, he is just a huge presence in the middle of that field. So it's not like a big 4A school Hoggard is going to overpower Topsail just in terms of how these teams look, as we discussed in the team picture. But I think, the Pirates are, they've got a challenge ahead of them. No team has been able to beat Hoggard for the Mid-Eastern Conference. Hoggard's the defending champions. And, the conference has gone through New Hanover or Hoggard for a long time. And the Pirates, I know, think that they can come into Hoggard and pull off an upset and put themselves in prime position. But until we actually see it, it's hard for me to envision that happening. But when you've got guys like Noah Laval, Cody Wallace, Hayden Walsh, Cameron Barris, playmakers that are making plays when you need them to. I mean, when Topsail needed a score, they went down and got it against Laney. So I think the Vikings have to be considered the favorites still just because of how good that defense is. And, since Noah Laval, the Pirates have gotten into conference play, the offense or the running game hasn't been nearly as dynamic. But it should be at least it's an exciting game when you think about it with speculation that, hey, maybe Topsail, it's their time. Maybe they are a football school, as you joked on Twitter now. Second game that we're going to be covering is South Brunswick at New Hanover. The Wildcats and the Cougars were both off last week because of Hurricane Michael, forcing Brunswick schools not to cancel Thursday and Friday and not have any games. Both teams 3-2. I think, 3 weeks ago this was a enticing matchup, or before the storm, this looked like it could be an enticing matchup to open up Mid-Eastern Conference play with the Cougars being 3-1. Then the storm hit, then South Brunswick lost to Topsail, and some of the luster from this game is kind of worn off.
It has, and you would think New Hanover has gotten some of its swagger back after, of course, a month or so ago, the Gardner victory, and then taking care of Laney However, the offense sputtered against Laney. It's overlooked a bit because you see the score and you go, oh, okay, New Hanover just did what it needed to do, but only one offensive touchdown. That wasn't until the fourth quarter. Was that credit to Laney's defense? I think part of it was, but also just trying to give Blake Walston more time. I think that's going to be something really interesting to watch here. Will Walston get more time? I think he will. He needs that time. He's if he could do that, he's deadly. We know that he can hit receivers. It doesn't matter what receivers he has. He can make those plays. But it's like any quarterback. You need time to throw. Walston's not going to do as much with his legs to get open and find somebody. And it showed in the Laney game when he had to do some of that how frustrated he was.
Right.
And like any quarterback would be, but some can adapt better than others. So that's going to be the thing to watch. Although I believe New Hanover can get past this one.
I think so too. South Brunswick, they had a lot of momentum, and then you get crushed at home by Topsail in a game that, that week you saw a lot of teams were rusty, and the Cougars were definitely rusty after such a long break, but it was kind of a flattener of the momentum for them. And let's see, can they bounce back and keep it close? I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were able to do that. Really quickly though, you mentioned New Hanover only scoring one touchdown against Laney. After the game that on Friday, the Topsail Laney game, Coach Inman was kind of quick to point that out to me, talking to him how, hey, this Laney defense is a good defense. New Hanover only scored one touchdown against them. We were able to score three, or was it three? They scored 3 touchdowns. Sorry. They scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal. We were able to score 3 touchdowns against this Laney defense. We feel like our offense can score against the best defenses in the conference. So I just want to point that out real quick about the Topsail Hoggard game. The Laney defense was for real against New Hanover, and the Pirates were able to do a little bit more against them.
And you said Laney has Sherrod Sidbury back. Now, obviously, he's the quarterback, but someone like him coming back, it looked like it made some difference in that game, obviously on the scoreboard, but that's more drives to the offense, more time for the defense to rest. Yeah. And yet, even with that Topsail scoring, there's some things to look at. I mean, if you're Topsail, it's beyond 6-0. It's we belong if you're Topsail. It's like, we know that now. Haven't played Hoggard, haven't played New Hanover yet, but these kids have got to be believing.
Yeah. We'll try and hit these last 3 games really quickly. You mentioned Sherrod Sidbury. He was great Friday night, running the ball, completed passes when he absolutely had to. And, his decision-making was great running the triple option. The Buccaneers are at North Brunswick this Friday night, who is 2-3 on the year, riding a 2-game win streak, and Laney 1-5. Anything can really happen in this game. I mean, North Brunswick, they're depleted with, I think they've lost 9 guys to displacement since Hurricane Florence, but they've found a way to win against Ashley in a shutout fashion. They beat Laney. They're 2-0 in the conference.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that, and I think if you're Brian Davis, you're just trying to rally the troops once again, and unable to play Friday, and of course he was very disappointed in that, as you wrote about, for the schedule alterations and what's having to happen now because of that. Does a team take that momentum? Do they take that fuel and say, oh, okay, we're going to put this into the game? Yes, we've 8 or 9 players we might not have right now, and that's huge. Talking about a 3A school that might only have 28, 29 players on its varsity roster, that is low for a 3A. That's low for a 2A school, even a lot of 1As going around right now. So that there are some things going against them, but do you use that and go, hey, we can do whatever we want to do if we put our minds to it kind of attitude? And if you're Laney, you just lost a heartbreaker. You have to make sure that this doesn't become 2 losses. A lot of coaches will say that you lose a game like that, and then it's easy to lose the next week because your mind's still on the game before.
And the Bucks have played 2 of the better teams in the MEC to start their season. I mean, there's easier games ahead, but they have to find a way to stop the losing.
There's still a playoff berth possible there for Laney. It's possible. It's going to be very difficult now. Yeah. But it's possible at the 4AA level if they can get through the rest of the conference that they sneak in.
Yeah. West Brunswick at Ashley. West Brunswick 1-4. Didn't play last week. Ashley 2-3. The loss to Hoggard. 2 teams. I like the matchups that we have here because it feels like they're in tiers a little bit. I would say these 2 teams are at the bottom of the MEC right now, but one win can kind of change things, especially for West Brunswick, where you've only played 1 game so far in the conference, and you've had an extra week to practice compared to Ashley. Just like North Brunswick compared to Laney, they had a little extra time not playing on Friday. I think that'll actually be a pretty close game. I'm not really sure who we could consider the favorites in this one. West Brunswick's really been struggling, though, since their opening week win.
Yeah, and if you're Ashley, you're coming off a loss like the Hoggard, and you're losing to a rival in town, and the way it happened seemed like there wasn't much energy at all with the team, but Mackay Stanley didn't mind telling me what it was all about afterward. He said, I need the ball more. I need to get the ball. I apologize for anybody, but it's my time. I need the ball. Give me more carries. Although he got his share of carries against Hoggard, but he got wrapped up quite a bit with that defense from the Vikings. Had that touchdown late, but he did not mix words when it came to the game. He's very frustrated, and I think this is a chance for him to put his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and rack up a couple of those big games like he had earlier in the year. Maybe just get his confidence back, get the Screaming Eagles' confidence back.
Yeah, absolutely. A win, and they'll be 500 again. And finally, we want to step outside the MEC and just really quickly talk about Trask at Richlands, which is a Coastal 8 showdown. And the Titans started the season 0-3. They're on a 3-game win streak. They're 2-0 in the conference, and all of a sudden it looks like, despite the departures of 2 transfers at the beginning of the year, they could still live up to preseason expectations of being the second best team in the Coastal 8 Conference. I mean, you just have to say, you can't say enough credit for Coach Jonathan Taylor and quarterback Jake Johnson, who's been tremendous all season for them.
Well, this reminded me a little bit of last year. They got off to the same poor start, lost the quarterback after the first series or two against Topsail in an option attack. You lose your runner, your main guy. What's going to happen now? It's like the season's already lost before it started, and then Trask went on this run. They went through the conference and did well, and we all know about the end and should have been in the playoffs and 8-9 wins, whatever. But it's kind of going that same route, and again, that is a credit to Jonathan Taylor to rally the troops and say the season's not over. Next man up. I know that's a kind of a cliche, but that's what it's been for Trask.
Yeah, and Richlands coming off a loss to Croatan, which is, when I saw that, I was very surprised. But you never know how some of these smaller schools have, what they've kind of gone through in the light of Hurricane Florence and even Michael last week. So, who knows? That's going to be, I think, a great game. Tough for the Titans going on the road, but a win. They're 3-0 and in great shape in the Coastal 8 pecking order to get that playoff berth this year. Just one more time, I'm going to point out, we're covering 2 games this week. I will be at Hoggard tomorrow night. You can follow along at Star News Varsity on Twitter for all sorts of updates. We'll have video recaps of second day story afterwards. And South Brunswick at New Hanover, our wonderful freelancer Noah Thomas is going to be covering that game. He is at Noah ILM on Twitter, and he'll provide a little recap and some video himself afterwards. Thank you, as always, for following us and reading online at starnewsonline.com/sports. And hope everyone enjoys their Tuesday night of football. And whenever you're playing this weekend, we'll kind of address that again later on this week, whether it's Friday or Saturday. Everyone have a great day.